Hello lovelies, are you feeling worried about starting your counselling? Today I'm going to talk you through how to prepare for your first counselling session. Physically, mentally and emotionally, I'm going to talk you through it step by step. First of all, let me talk about physically. Most of the counselling at the moment is taking place online. Now that can be many things. It could be on Zoom or Skype. It could be text-based where people just type messages to each other. It could be through email. It could be on the telephone. So it's taking place in different environments to how we normally deliver counselling. The difference this has made is that it's now down to the client, yourself, to be able to prepare the space, to be able to find a way to create a safe, private, interruption-free space for yourself. So when I'm getting inquiries now, that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm writing to people and saying, have a think about where you can actually do your counselling and not be interrupted and not be overheard, and just finding yourself that little quiet, safe space. Now there's a lot of thought goes into it when therapists set up a room, and they like to keep the same space, same environment for each session, so that's something for you to think about as well. There's something about being able to put yourself into the right headspace if you get into the same physical space. So for example, even though I work online only, even if I change my environment, I'm going to be working from somewhere else, I always warn my clients ahead of that I'll be in a different space, because even seeing me on camera in a different room and the ambience is a little bit different, and it can just throw people off a bit. So it's something to really think about. So in an ideal world, you want to be on your laptop with a full screen. You're getting the full screen and your hands-free. So these are the things you want to look for. You need to be hands-free from your device, have a screen that you can just sit and watch and not have to fiddle with stuff, not have to, if you're on your iPhone and you have to kind of hold it or move it around or try and balance it, that can be really difficult. So there's some things to think about. Many people can't do their counselling from home because there's just too many people in the home at the moment. So other places to think about, your office, if you've got an office and you're okay to go in there and or to stay after hours and get a private space in your office to be able to do your counselling, that's fantastic. Brilliant space is your car. If you can go in there with your obviously with your tablet or your iPhone, your smartphone, and do your counselling in your car, that is really brilliant. A good private safe space. Park somewhere that you're not going to be interrupted, that you've got a good signal, and that you've got plenty of juice in your battery. Again, make sure you've got it on your stand or by your stand, and make sure that your hands free, and that's a really good option. Some of the teenagers that myself and my supervisees have been working with, to be hands free and to be private, what they've chosen to do is to walk and talk. So that's a brilliant option as well, is to be able to just talk on the telephone with your headphones in, and you can chat away to your therapist while you walk. That's been a really good option for teenagers or young people that have not been able to get space in their own home. Next thing to think about is how to prepare mentally. And when I say mentally, I mean doing your due diligence. Hopefully you'll have been able to choose your own counsellor. I know that's not always the case. Sometimes you just allocated someone via your workplace or wherever. But if you can choose your own counsellor, you get a bit of a choice in that. And counsellors don't mind at all people who message us and ask about our qualifications, or if we've got experience with the particular problem or concern that you're going to be coming along with. So we don't take offence at that at all, so do ask. And I would say this is the main point. Choose somebody that's registered with a professional body. The main ones are the BACP, which I'm a member of, and there's the UKCP. BPS is for psychologists. There's the NCS, National Counselling Service. So make sure that they're registered with a professional body, because that tells you then that they've signed up to an ethical code of conduct that they're obligated to, professional standards they're obligated to meet. So that's a good measure. From a price perspective, you should be expecting to pay somewhere in the region of about £30 to about £60 a session. The disparity you'll find is that there's a north-south divide. You'll probably find your session fees are somewhere between the range of sort of 30 to 50 in the north, and it's more likely to be kind of maybe 50 to 65 in the south. So that's something to factor in. Don't be worried about thinking, that more expensive equals better. It really doesn't. There's not a lot in it. You'd be far better to find somebody that you feel that you can click with, that you can gel with, and that and has maybe got a really good grasp and some experience of the issues or the problems, concerns that you're bringing to talk about. That's more important than actually than anything else, really. So do have a good look. Have a good look at their website and see if their tone on the website is something that you kind of resonate with. I always ask when my clients come to me, how did you find me? What made you choose me? And there's something about being human, because the most common answer to that question is, I just like the look of your photograph. I just thought you looked warm and friendly and kind, and I just thought, yeah, I'll get on with her. And that's really how one human being chooses another human being to share their private stuff with. And maybe that's it. Maybe there's something in that. Go flip through the photographs and think, do you look like a person that I could talk to and share some really private stuff with? Because that's what you're looking for. And the third thing to talk about is how to prepare emotionally. And I think this is the area that people find the most difficult. There's a tendency for clients to come into the room on their first session, feel very nervous, or into the room or onto Zoom, which that could be a cause for nervousness as well. If you've never used the technology, if you've never been in a Zoom session or a Skype session and you're feeling nervous about that, that's understandable. What I would say about that is, firstly, don't worry about that, because your counsellor's experienced at that, and what your counsellor is trained in as well is putting people at their ease. So when they meet a new person, let them take the lead. So when you first enter your session, let your counsellor take the lead. Let them work to put you at ease. They might talk you through the contract, and they might, talk about their way of working, or give you some idea of what to expect in the next few weeks. But they'll certainly take time just to let you settle in and feel okay before they ask you to speak. You don't need to walk into the room, you won't be walking in, or open your session or start your phone call by spilling your heart and soul out. That's not something that's expected. What I do advise people to do is to have a think about, because quite often in a first session, a client comes to me and their story can be huge. And the first session is usually taken up, and this is normal, the first session is usually taken up with my client just describing the whole scenario and giving me the whole story from start to end. And that's absolutely normal. What I would say to you is, to prepare for your first session, have a think about how you can tell your whole story in one paragraph. Sum up your story in one paragraph. This is going to prepare you emotionally, because what can happen is a client can, you can go in, you can feel overwhelmed, and quite often people go in, they just burst into tears. That's the first thing, they just get in the seat and they burst into tears, because they just feel overwhelmed with all that they've brought and all that they need to tell me and all that they need to talk about. It's massively overwhelming. So in order just to protect yourself a little bit emotionally, think about how you can sum up your story in one paragraph. This just, when I say keeping yourself safe, this is about just being able to manage your own emotions until you can start to enter your session and then spill out what you need to spill out. But it just allows you to control the flow of that a little bit, which will help you. It'll help you feel a bit more in control, a little less overwhelmed. So think about your big story in one paragraph. There's my first tip. The other way to do this, or if you can't find a way to do that, another way to think about this is think about what you bring in to talk about and make some bullet points. I often advise this for people who are going to the GP as well, because again, when you're meeting with a professional for the first time, or in a strange environment, or in a strange way, i.e. suddenly on the telephone or on Skype or whatever, you can just, it goes out of your head what it was that you wanted to list and say and do. So just a little list of bullet points. And it's fine, you can bring that in, you can bring that into your session. I've written it down because I didn't want to forget, and that's fine too. And it just helps you to prepare emotionally to give yourself a measure of control over your own emotions, to not feel too overwhelmed in that first session. And then what you'll find is that your session will start to unfold in a more natural way. One of the things to think about, and quite often your counsellor will ask, is what do you want to focus on? Because quite often, when a client comes to see me, the problems are huge and vast, and we can't deal with them all at once. So your counsellor may say, right, okay, that's a lot of stuff you've brought. There's lots for us to work with. Where do we start? What's the most important point? Where do we need to tackle? What do we need to tackle first? And this will be what's most important to you in the moment, on the day. It doesn't mean it's necessarily where the therapy will stay as it goes along, but in that moment on that first day, maybe have a think about where do you want to start with all of this? What feels most important to you right now? And when I say doesn't mean that's the way the therapy goes, for example, you may come in and say, okay, so I've got a broken relationship. That feels really important, how I manage that right now. And that's great. And you can work with your counsellor to think about how you can manage that relationship in the moment, in the here and now, right now. However, as time goes on with your therapy, I've no doubt that your counsellor will be taking you through how you got to this place, in this particular relationship. They'll be looking at themes and patterns in relationships. They might even be looking at your early conditioning from when you were tiny. What did you learn in your first group, which is your family, your first relationships? So all of that stuff comes out. And it may, at the end of therapy, you may say, actually, that work was really about working on self-awareness, or discovering parts of self that I didn't really know about or know existed. Maybe my therapy was about increasing my confidence or my self-esteem. But when you present, it's about a broken relationship. So I hope you know where I'm going with that. So yeah, a few tips there for how to prepare emotionally. One little paragraph to sum up your whole situation, a bullet list, and the answer to the question, what do you want to focus on and work on right here and right now? So I hope all that was helpful today, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye. Bye for now.